So we just went over the main menu of the touchscreen display. Now I want to go into the program section. Here we're going to show you how you can view what's saved in that wrap palette and also the changes you want to make and how you can make those so it can be specific to the palette that you're wrapping. So just a reminder, you can see right here we're in program number 1. So if I go into programs, I'm going to go to general first. Now when I do this, because I just turned it on, it's going to ask for a password. It's only going to do that when you just turn it on. So I'm going to click that, go to number, hit the password 919, hit enter, then hit OK. Now if I go to general, it's not going to ask for that password. So go to general. As you can see, we're in palette number 1 still. If I wanted to change that out, if I click that and I've put 2 here, and I hit enter, then it would go to palette number 2. I'm just going to keep it at number 1 though. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to do this, back again, and go to 1, enter. All right, so here they're talking about wraps, top and bottom wraps. So right now, the bottom wraps is going to be 2, so I'm going to keep it at that. Top wraps is 2. Top wraps after top sheet dispense, that's not in that mode, so it really doesn't matter right now. Then final bottom wraps is set to 1. Just for sake of making a change to show you how to do it, I'm going to go to the top wraps. I'm going to change it to 1 and hit enter. And if I want to make these changes, I want to hit save, then upload. Now if I go back, now we're going to look at the tension. So I go to film tension. Right now it's showing this has variable tension, which is a nice feature because if you have variable tension, you could start lighter on the bottom and then tighten up, you know, towards you get the top or on the way back down. So if you, let's say you have sharp edges or something like that, if you wanted a certain tension, you could start with lower, and then once that's covered up on the way back down, you can tighten it up more. Right now, I'm just gonna keep it at, I have it at 25 all the way through. Let's see, we'll do top tension, we'll change that to 35. And hit enter. So you can see the different areas where you can change that. Now I'm going to save, upload, go back. Next I'm going to go to photo cell, which that's the photo eye delay. So if I go there, right now it's at 4 seconds. What that means is when the photo eye detects that it doesn't see the palette anymore, normally it would go back down. But we're saying, hey, go up for another 4 seconds. And by doing that, you're going to get a better overwrap on the palette. If I didn't want as much overwrap, I'd set it to lower, like 2 or 3 seconds. If I wanted more overwrap, higher number of seconds. So I'm going to keep that as is. Right now, the photo eye is on. If for some reason I said, hey, I don't want the photo eye to be on, then I would have to put a palette height in here. So I would say, hey, photo eye, I don't want you to detect the height of the palette. I want to tell you exactly what height I want it at. So that's what you would do here. But typically, you're going to keep the photo eye on. Carriage position after top sheet dispense, that's not going to apply here at all, so we're going to skip over that. So I'm not going to save anything because I didn't make changes, so I'm going to go back. Then I'm going to go to speed. So this is how fast the unit's going to be moving. There's 2 types of speeds. The traction speed is how fast the mobile wrapper actually goes around the pallet. So right now I have it at a high speed, so 100% at high speed. And then as it slows down, I have it at 80% of the speed. The other speed is going to be the carriage upward and downward speed. So if I have a tall pallet, I probably want to lower this carriage speed down to, like, let's say 50%. Because that way, as I'm going around the pallet, it's going to catch more of the middle of it. But for now, the pallet I'm going to wrap is about 48 inches high, so it's not that high. So I'm going to keep it at 80 and I'll keep it at 75. But if I want to make the changes, I could just click on it and make it here. We'll go back. Then we go into others. So others is pretty important because there's 2 things you can do here. One, you can do a reinforcement wrap. So let's say middle of the pallet, I decided I really want to get more film applied there. I could say, hey, and I have to know where it's at, and I'll go further detail on this in another video. But I would, let's say at 55 centimeters, I would put that in here, and I would say the number of turns I want to do there. So I could do 2, 3, 4 wraps, for example. This last one, pallet perimeter, is it's very important. So when we're talking about the number of turns that we're doing around the pallet, the way that we know this machine knows how many times it went around the pallet is based on the perimeter. So that's where you input the perimeter here. So on this particular pallet I'm going to do, I know it's 4 foot by 8 foot, which equates to 732 centimeters for a perimeter. We have a cheat sheet for that comes with the machine. I'll show you that in a second. Probably good to have handy, especially when you're doing your initial programming. Then from there, the type of cycle is up then down. So that means it's gonna go up and wrap it and then come back down. The other options are gonna be only up and only downwards. So we'll keep it as is. So didn't make any changes at all, so I'm not gonna save it at all, but if I were, I'd hit, just for due sake, save and upload just as a reminder. I'm gonna go back. Out of this palette, that's pretty much the stuff that I want to make changes to. In another video, I'm going to show you guys how we can actually wrap that palette. So earlier I discussed how important the palette perimeter is when you're setting your values in your saved palettes. And I did make mention of a cheat sheet that we give you. So this sheet comes with your unit. So for example, the palette that we're talking about earlier, I said was 4 foot wide by 8 foot long. So you got the 48-inch wide, 96 long. Meat down here, you have 732 centimeters. So this is a nice handy sheet you want to keep close by